the three of us are just kind of, most of y'all have heard our stories because you've been through them with us, but we just kind of want to give a recap to you and thank you for the role that you've played with us in our conversions and our entrance into this family. And so we just wanted to give a few words. It won't be long. It won't be our whole stories. I know a lot of y'all are thinking that's crazy because you've heard our stories.
You can buy our books later.
Yeah.
Can we get autographs?
Oh, yes.
In an order right now.
Yeah. So the copies in the back and
And pictures with us.
Yeah.
But, so I'm going to start, and just to kind of think about that a year ago, I was still saying I'll never be Catholic. A year ago, I was still, oh, you want me to hold it? Okay. I'm still not okay with the Eucharist. It was crazy this week when we went on the pilgrimage to the 7 churches on Thursday night, because we were all recounting the tales of me going into one church, I think it was the 4th or 5th one, and walking straight out because I couldn't handle it anymore, of not saying the Hail Mary in the car because I did not like Mary, and all of those crazy things. I grew up Methodist. I grew up in a strong Christian home, but I was definitely anti-Catholic, and that comes from just experiences in my parents' past. But coming to St. Mary's, I had no interest in being Catholic. I had no interest in what God was doing there. I went off campus for church, for friends, for everything. And I had a roommate who wasn't even Christian yet, and so I was really asking God what He was doing. And by my sophomore year, I started to make friends on campus with some pretty amazing guys, and seeing them actually live their faith, live the Catholic faith, love us even though we weren't Catholic, some of us weren't even Christian, and just to see how they lived that and how they loved us was amazing. And beginning a year ago, January, I started having conversations with Sean, who was here earlier, and first of all, trying to convert him. And epic fail. Thinking, man, he wants to be a priest. This would be great, a great conversion to Protestantism. And talking with him, a lot of things started to make sense. And my thirst for God, my desire for more of God, was beginning to be quenched, and in a place that I didn't even want to go. I don't know if y'all have read Scott Hahn, but he talks about it becoming a horror story before it's a love story and a journey to the Catholic faith, and that's definitely what it was for me, because it was something that I would have never dreamed of, certainly something my parents would have never dreamed of. And so through all of that, we talked about faith and works, we talked about the authority of the church, tradition, the Bible, we talked about the Eucharist. Before we even touched Mary, Purgatory, and Confession, my big three that were rather difficult, but through it all, the most amazing part was the community that was surrounding us, that I hadn't ever had of such deep, deep faith and love. And so that's why I'm here today. And our love for the Eucharist, our love for Jesus here with us, and our love for the saints, our love for this church that is universal. That's the reason that we stand before you as Catholics. And so I rejoice in that with you, and I thank you to be for the role that you played in that. So specifically, Sean isn't here, but a big thanks to him for being obedient, for sticking with me through 3-hour conversations, of times where I was crying, of times where I was throwing every single question I could at him, of saying things against the church that, good thing I went to confession and got all that taken care of. Thanks to the guys who were so instrumental in our lives, for Brian and Andrew, who became our closest friends before we even had those conversations, for Sam and David, for Phil, who's in Peru, for Matt, who came later, and the freshman guys who are here now, and seeing the fruits of all of that. For Rebecca, and for our Marian group, who we joined before I was even liked Mary. And we'd call it a small group, because we're not going to call it a Marian group. And just for each of you who live your faith especially for the fraternists, for Rosa, who talked to me before I was even gonna think about Catholicism, when I was just needing a spiritual mentor, when I was just needing someone to talk to, who was there, who wasn't gonna pressure me into anything, but call me to further holiness, for your light and for your example, and for each of the fraternists who have been through it with me, who met me the first time when I came in and was like, oh my goodness, here, because it was all really overwhelming, but for your love, for your joy, for the spirit that's in you. Thank you so much. And for my spiritual family, the Strickle is for taking us in when I didn't have the support of my family. As you know, my family is not okay with this, and so I can't tell you how much it means to me to have each one of you here, because you really are my family. I don't know what the next couple of years are going to hold for me in Corpus. We continue praying and we continue to have hope, considering He worked miracles for us, so I know that He can continue to do that. But I thank you so much for taking us in, and for being there for us when you didn't even know us. And so that's just for all of you, for this continued family, and for being strong Catholics. And we encourage you to continue this walk as we continue this passion, that y'all would carry it out, because there are people who need to know this, truth, and we're the only ones who can give it to them. So live it. Never back down, never hold back, live it. Because that's the only way that we're going to change the world and that we're going to be holy. So, thank you.
Amen.
Hi, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Blerina. So the reason why all three of us are here is because we met directly or indirectly through the fraternists. And I remember a year ago during our Easter egg hunt, it was slightly awkward. because like she'd say, like we were in different journeys, and they were still not used to saying Mary. There were things about their church that I was not used to, and I was still struggling with. But let me back up a little bit before then. It's kind of like a movie, right? When you go into a scene and then you say, "Oh, but well, back." So I'll try to make it kind of quick. So I was a Protestant for a long time, not because of my family, because of my own choice. My family's atheist, for those of you wondering. So they don't care if I'm Protestant or Catholic. To them, all Christians are, good, or any faiths in general. So I was really involved I was Methodist for some years, and I went to college. They had a non-denominational fellowship I was very involved with. And among the many friends that I met there, Catherine Crane, she's not here today. She's in England, but she was one of my really good friends. We graduated together. And so, as some of you that might be approaching graduation, we graduated, and they were like, okay, so what's next? God, where are you leading me? So Kat was wonderful. Even though she was such a strong Catholic, she never pushed me to be like, hey, I'm Catholic, you should become Catholic too. No, she was an exemplar Catholic through the way she lived her life. And so that was really appealing to me, but yet, the whole Pope and Mary, too much to handle. I was like, okay, I respect you, the whole I'm tolerant towards you, your views are cool, but stay away from me. To be honest. So, Catherine was amazing. She was there, when I asked her questions, but what happened is through prayer, again, I was very devout in my faith. Through prayer, I was just like, God, where do you want me to be next? I don't know what career. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know anything. You guide me. I'm free to be guided by you. And then God said in prayer, Peru, and I was like, okay, this is crazy. I don't know anything about Peru. What's Peru? What about Peru? God, just drop a word and say Peru. That makes no sense. So me and Kat is this thing that we were so cool that we go to coffee shops and we pray out loud. We were those girls. Holy Spirit, go, that thing. And everybody does it. We were crazy, but we loved it. And so we would go and we'd be like, and then I was like, Kat, you won't believe this. Jesus just told me go to Peru. I'm like, what's up with that? What's Peru all about? She goes, did you say Peru? I was like, yeah. And she's like, well, I know this community of women that they're doing a mission trip, and it's in Peru, but, would you be interested? And I was like, mission trip Peru? I was like, maybe so. I need to know more about it. You cannot just say, I cannot just sign the paper and say, okay. And so, why not? No, people do that. I was like, I need more info. And so she's like, oh, perfect. Angela's birthday, Angela, one of the fraternists, birthday is next week. Time up again. So this was 2 years ago, by the way, timeline. I forget timeline. Yeah, 2009, somewhere in summer 2009, right after graduation. They said, Angela, one of the community, not even fraternity, I didn't even know what fraternity meant. One of the communities, it's her birthday, it's a social event. Get enticed by food, but then you can talk about Peru. That's so awesome, talk about Peru. Okay, so I come here, and it's, very Catholic community, so I was like, well, they're cool, Catholic, Christian, my brothers and sisters, that's good. Don't tell me anything about Mary, And so, and they're, and I bring it up, so what about Peru, blah, 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 and they start asking me more questions. Well, that's great that you were interested in this, that God is calling you to this, but, so you understand this is a Catholic mission trip, so that entails that we're going to be doing catechesis to those kids. I mean, it's going to be slightly different from what you're used to. And I'm like, I'm open to anything. If you're just wanting to paint, I can paint. If you don't want to do catechesis, obviously, I was not in no condition to do that. So if you just want me to just do the legwork and just be there and prayer, absolutely. So like, okay, well, yeah, definitely. Like, let's come to come to Thursday. And I'm like, Thursday? Why Thursday? See how they reeled me in? Thursday, because Thursday we have exposure to the Eucharist. What is the Eucharist? Oh, okay, so they explained to me the Eucharist. I'm like, okay, this is going nuts, okay? So first you say go to Peru, now you say the Eucharist. I mean, okay, what did I sign up for? Can I go back? No, but I was just kind of like, well, let me think about this. And there were so many months ahead, so I was like, I can test the waters. If it doesn't work, well, that's great. So I started coming to the community of fraternists, and really nicely, without pushing me in any sense of the way, Rosa, which later became my spiritual director, was, telling me, so, asking me questions, basically about my faith journey, and, and then she said, this is what we believe, and I told her, well, I have issues with what you believe, and these are my issues, and really nicely again, and so she said, well, let's talk more about this. Have you read so-and-so book? And she did not know how much I love reading, so she really got me with reading. I was like, I love reading. Okay, well, get Scott Hahn's book. Get, some of the biggest Protestant, Patrick Madrid, Father Brochel. He's not a convert, but he's a great apologist, apologetic, or, yeah, is that how I say it? Yeah. Okay. So anyways, tons and tons of scripture readings, like where you divide the line in theology. And I thought I knew a lot. I did think I knew a lot until I read these books, and I was like, whoa, I know nothing. I'm only starting to know. And when I realized that, I was just like, I want to know more. Like, you giving me this, but this is not enough. I got to learn more. And doing this conversion story, I had two main support people in my life. Kat was one of them. I would call her at odd hours at night. I would call her at like 2 a.m. and be like, I cannot do this anymore. I have all these doubts, and what do I do about this? What do I do about that? And she was so patient, so kind, so loving, and each and every time she offered me her true and sincere, like she was able